I think anytime you look inward, you start to see beauty in everything. You see it in yourself, you see it in the things around you, you cultivate more gratitude and appreciation, in addition to confronting things that feel very ugly. And that's what's scary, right? It's like, oh, if I only went inward and I was like, everything's great, it's a rose garden, like it would be fine.
Well, I remember when I started teaching yoga, this was the analogy that I would give people, because when you're somebody who, I remember when think I know we both practice yoga or have a mindfulness practice. And before I started practicing yoga, or when I first started, and I would see the yogis, they looked so like perfect to me, right? They had this energy, they had this like vibe, there were all these vibes, right? It's like this whole thing. And I made a lot of assumptions. Now I can say I made a lot of assumptions. Back then, I thought that it was like it was the what I need, right? I was like, let me go from here where I don't feel good about myself, and this is the direct line, stick the IV in me. This is a direct line to feeling amazing about myself. I want to be like these women. This is so great. And it was so not like, yes, did yoga and mindfulness get me to a place? But yes, that is amazing, but it's messy and it's dirty. And I don't just see the rose garden, I see all the crap and the garbage that everybody throws in the rose garden at the same time. And I think that when you're staring at something from really far back, like the top of the mountain, and you're looking at the rose garden, the roses are very colorful. So you see only the roses. But when you go down the mountain into the rose garden, you see the shit, right? You see the crap, you see everything. And it's at that point that a lot of times people get very disappointed because they had assumptions about what it was going to be. And ultimately, nothing is what you imagine it to be. Nothing is going to be that, you know, give me the pill and it's going to take me to euphoria, unless you know, unless you do that, but that ends and there's a come down and there's a hard crash.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing, is like everyone's looking in beauty for a magic pill. If somebody could figure out, quote unquote, the fountain of youth, I mean, sure, that's what they're all trying to do, but why is the goal trying to find the fountain of youth? Why is that the goal? And I think that's a better question for me lately, is because the concept of anti-aging is stupid. You're aging, the end. You're born, you're aging. But we don't value aging. We don't value what comes with it. And that deep wisdom and that deep power that we get as we age actually becomes, I think, threatening. Because if you're only there to produce babies, and every friend of mine, I do not have children, but every friend of mine who's had a baby, they're exhausted. They're like, oh my God, I haven't slept in 27 years. And not
Uh-huh.
20, you get my point. And and then they're doing the child thing, and now in the US, and the career thing, and I'm watching how little we support women, and then we're just like, poof, goodbye.
Yep.
Oh, and at their most ripe, actually, at their most interesting. And we celebrate men with salt and pepper hair and their distinguished faces and wrinkles, and women are supposed to look like AI robots who've never made an expression in their life. Are you kidding me? Like, why is that the goal, is for women to not have the power of the expression of their feelings? So no wonder it is so hard for us to confront feelings. When you're expected to walk around society like you can't move your forehead, and you shouldn't have lines next to your eyes, and you've never cried,
Hmm.
deeply ugly cried, yeah, it's going to be really hard to look at the shit because it's not acceptable. I mean,
Such a good
how
point.
many times, I don't know about you, but I've done meditations in groups with people, and I started crying, and I become so self-conscious. And I'm like, oh my God, everyone knows I'm crying. And how, oh God, am I going to be able to stop it? Like, that's, that's hard.
It
No,
is.
you
Oh
don't
my
get
God.
there.
It is so hard. It is so hard. I feel crying was a huge dam breaker for me, I feel. Like when I started to appreciate crying, because I really do now actually. When I access crying, other than like my husband makes fun of me that I like cry at the weird bank commercials with the families and all that stuff. Like I
Good.
cry at those now.
Yeah.
But
Got you. Those touch you somewhere.
they touch you somewhere, but I do think that there are people that are not in touch with their feelings that cry at bank commercials. It's when I would be alone in my apartment. And I remember these so clearly. It's like, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, I'd be alone in my apartment. And even now, sometimes, of course, because we go through our different layers of healing, even as we're quote unquote more healed than we were before. But it would be when I would just be with myself and something arises and like I just have a feeling and it just is so big in my body and then it just comes out through tears. And now I know that I'm about to get to the other side of something amazing is going to happen. Like something is going to unlock. And to me, that's manifesting. I feel
Mm.
like people talk so much about manifesting and people manifest, it's like vision boards and like there's so much thinking related to manifesting, but I really think manifesting is when you can unlock an organic, authentic feeling and have an expression of that feeling. And it's so true and natural, even if it's ugly, even if it hurts. And getting to that place where you can disconnect the pain from your self-worth and be like, oh, I'm just feeling something deeply. And now if I can just connect to what I really desire and want and value about myself, that's going to come into me and going to be me so much quicker.
Mm. There is so much power in manifesting when there's emotion behind it. And I have to remind myself of this constantly. I've achieved some really interesting things with my life, things I didn't even think were possible. Like, how the heck did I become a makeup artist who speaks fluent Italian, working the best fashion shows in the industry? Nobody handed me that. Nobody said, here's the life path for you. But
Yeah.
I wanted it so much and I didn't know how it was possible. And through visualizing and really getting into the emotion and the feeling of it in different ways, and I use different therapists and modalities and ways to get into touch with that without it just being like, that's a pretty picture, but really feeling myself deeply in that, is when I've manifested the most cool, amazing things. And also not being so attached to the specific of it, but saying to the universe, this is the feeling, this is the thing I'm going for, but also you could give me better, this or better.
Yep, for sure.
And I forget it every single day. Every single day, I'm like, I really want to do this thing. And I forget the most basic tools of manifestation and asking for spiritual guidance or guides or angels or whatever you think is with you. I think there's a lot of angels around me. I know it. I shouldn't even say I think. I know. And the other night, a bird like almost hit me in the head. And I always notice those things, like it's getting my attention. We are interacting with the world on so many vibrational levels and the universe, and in ways that I don't think most of us understand are actually attached to our beauty as well.